Our opening words were written by Sylvia Howe. We gather on the edge of the new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, mindful of days gone by. We gather on the cusp of this new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for what lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrows and tomorrows. We invite you to join our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings and beginnings. We bid you welcome.
We light our chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready as we can be to live life fully anew as we move forward with intention.
Good morning, y'all. Happy New Year. Mama, why do we just keep going and not going anywhere? Asked little Sophie. Her family was crossing the wide Pacific Ocean on a big ship bound for America. Sophia Lyon was an American girl, 3.5 years old, making her first trip to America. She and her older brothers and sisters had all been born in China, where their father was an evangelical Christian minister and their mother had started a school for Chinese girls. When they made the long trip to America in 1880, Sophie's parents thought her family would go back to China after 1 year. But the plans changed, and Sophie never returned to China. As she grew up, her memories of China grew dim. But she hoped when she grew up, she could go to other countries as a Christian teacher, just like her parents. In college, Sophie joined a club for young people who also wanted to become Christian teachers. She met another devoted volunteer named Harvey Foz. They began writing letters to each other and made plans to travel and teach together. 6 years later, they were married. But instead of traveling to another country, they moved to New York City. Harvey had a job, and Sophia Lyon Foz taught Sunday school and continued her studies, excited about the new ideas she was learning. Sophia and Harvey's first child was born in 1904. In those days, many women gave up their outside work after they became mothers. But Sophia was determined to keep learning and to keep teaching Sunday school, and she did. As it turned out, being a mother also helped Sophia learn. She learned about children from being with her children and listening to their ideas and questions. When her children asked questions, Sophia tried her best to answer them. Her children had very interesting questions, like where does snow come from? And where are we before we are born? As she tried to answer her children's questions, Sophia learned how much she did not know. You might think not having all the answers took away Sophia's faith, but it was the opposite. She started to believe that when you have a strong faith, finding questions you really care about is just as important as finding answers. One time, when Sophia taught a religious education class, she told a lively story about a real person who had been a Christian teacher in another country. The children were eager to hear the story and eager to talk about it. Like her own children at home, the children asked questions, the interesting kind of questions that let Sophia know that they were thinking and learning. Sophia's ideas about religion changed over time. As a young person, she had thought Christianity was the one true religion, and people all over the world should learn Bible stories. She grew to realize that the Bible was not the only book with truth in it. She collected stories from all over the world, filled with truth and beauty to help children's spirits stretch and grow. She published the stories in a book, this one here actually, From Long Ago in Many Lands. In those days, when most children thought children's minds were like empty jars to fill with learning, Sophia thought differently. She thought children were more like gardens, already planted with seeds of possibility for learning and growing. She thought a teacher's job was to provide the good soil and water and sunlight a garden needs to grow. In religious school, a teacher could help children grow in spirit and faith. RE teachers, like the ones we have here at Sunnyhill, can give children a safe place to learn, tools such as books and art and supplies and music. We can show you how adults worship, sing, and celebrate together in faith. We can help you know when your actions are faithful ones, for goodness and justice. We could take you on field trips and tell stories, but no one can give a child wisdom or faith or spiritual growth. These things can only grow from within. People learn by experiencing the world for themselves, by feeling their own feelings, and by seeing and touching and doing. That's what Sophia Foz believed. When Sophia Foz wrote about her beliefs, the president of the American Unitarian Association was impressed. He asked her to talk to the Unitarian religious educators and teachers, people like Ms. Christie and Ms. Amara. Unitarian Sunday school teachers liked her ideas very much. And that is why, when you come here, we encourage you to see and touch and do, and of course, ask a lot of questions. When she was 82 years old, Sophia became a Unitarian minister. Her own life was a great example of her belief that every person in a congregation can continue to learn and grow, from the smallest child to the oldest adult. Sophia Foz lived a long, long time, 102 years, and she never stopped learning new things. If she were alive today and came to visit us, Sophia Foz would want to know about our experiences and how they have helped us learn and grow. She would want to know what stories we have read and how they have helped to awaken our spirits. She would want to know how we ask questions, seek answers, and learn from each other. Imagine how happy she would be to see us, both children and adults, watering one another's seeds each and every Sunday, and often on the days in between as well. Thank you.
The song that Mary and I are about to sing, I Am Willing by Holly Near, has been something of a theme song for me over the past couple of years, and really over the past 5 or 6 years as we have continued to face challenge after challenge, political and social challenges, environmental and climate-related challenges, pandemic-related challenges, and all of the rest. The chorus of the song goes, I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Those words make me think about some of the people who have died in this past year, some of whom fought the good fight and have left legacies of love and justice that shine forth in the darkness. I think, for example, of Bell Hooks, path-breaking black feminist. I think of anti-apartheid movement leader Desmond Tutu. I think of Sarah Weddington, the lawyer who successfully argued in Roe versus Wade. I think of LaDonna Allard, leader of the Dakota Access Pipeline protests. I think of these and so many others who died in 2021, whose examples provide a lesson for all of us and a reminder that people can and do make a difference, can and do provide light and life, and sometimes even some hope for the future.
So strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic all across the nation. There is wailing the whole world round. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise, and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty yoke ocean. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Breathing is something we tend to take for granted. Breathing in, breathing out, again and again. We do it without thinking, automatically, autonomically. We enter a room and breathe in. We take a seat and breathe out. Waking or sleeping, moving or sitting, our breath continues, taking in oxygen, moving it to every part of our bodies, sustaining our lives. But in recent years, we have seen how breathing can be threatened by disease, by violence, by willful neglect or malice. How breathing can be threatened by ignorance, by hubris, by active and passive forces of oppression and marginalization. As we breathe in silence for the next moment, let us be fully aware and appreciative of the gift of breath and breathing. May we practice gratitude with every breath we take. May we appreciate and tend to our own breathing. And may we work to ensure that everyone has the right to breathe. Years ago, I made a New Year's resolution to never again make a New Year's resolution. New Year's resolution to end all New Year's resolutions, if you will. I found that such resolutions are often exercises in frustration and an almost surefire way to disappoint myself and engage in self-shaming and misery. In some ways, January 1st seems like pretty much the absolute worst time of year to make such resolutions. Exhausted from the holidays, in the middle of the bleakest part of winter, often sluggish and easily agitated, how can this be a good time to make any major life-changing commitments to oneself or others. And all of these things are especially true this year as we face a world ravaged by the ongoing pandemic, which continues to confound our best laid plans. On the other hand, I do believe in the power of naming one's intentions, and intention happens to be our worship theme for the month of January. Sometimes just saying out loud what you intend to do and maybe sharing it with others can greatly increase the likelihood of accomplishing what you are setting out to do. While it's not magic, naming our intentions can in fact be a great first step toward making either large or small changes in our life. But intention can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can mark a fresh start or new beginning and help put us on a previously unexplored path. On the other hand, intention can sometimes devolve into dashed hopes and frustrations and can sometimes be used as an excuse for behaviors that cause harm, whether intended or not. On the positive side of things, I have repeatedly experienced the benefits of naming my intentions. Every difficult undertaking that I have been able to complete has begun with my articulating my intentions and sharing them with others. By stating your intentions, you bring together your yearnings, your ability to imagine and envision meaningful change, and a willingness to hold yourself accountable for working toward what you want to achieve. All of these things are good and essential to living in a way that is likely to result in feeling satisfied and maintaining a sense of personal integrity. And the concept of intention has religious implications, particularly in Eastern religious traditions. Author and meditation teacher Philip Moffitt writes, "In Buddhist psychology, intention manifests itself as volition, which is the mental factor that most determines your consciousness in each moment. Literally, it is your intention that affects how you interpret what comes into your mind." Moffitt says, take, for example, someone who is being rude and domineering during a meeting at work. He is unpleasant, or at least your experience of him is unpleasant. What do you notice? Do you see his insecurity and how desperately hungry he is for control and attention? Or do you notice only your own needs and dislike and take his behavior personally, even though it really has little to do with you? If you are grounded in your intention, Moffitt says, then your response will be to notice his discomfort and your own suffering and feel compassion toward both of you. This doesn't mean that you don't feel irritation or that you allow him to push you around, but you avoid getting lost in judgment or personal reaction. Can you feel the extra emotional space such an orientation to life provides? Do you see the greater range of options for interpreting the difficulties in your life? This Buddhist attitude toward intention can be extremely challenging. On one hand, it's simply wrong to let harmful behavior proceed unchecked or unchallenged. So we do, I think, have an obligation to intercede when we see people acting in ways that hurt others, particularly when those others are marginalized or otherwise vulnerable. On the other hand, if we get lost in taking things personally, we have almost no chance of being effective in that moment, whatever it is we're trying to do. When all we're doing is reacting, when we have lost sight of our intention, when we become defensive or retributive, then we lose our grounding and tend to spin our wheels. So in this Buddhist sense of the concept, intention can be the ground to which we return again and again, not to turn away from reality, but to deal with life just as it is, moment by moment, aware of what's actually going on both within and around us. But Moffat writes that intentions are different from goals. He says, with goals, the future is always the focus. Are you going to reach the goal? Will you be happy when you do? What's next? Setting intention, at least according to Buddhist teachings, is quite different than goal making. It is not oriented toward a future outcome. Instead, it is a path or practice that is focused on how you are being in the present moment. You set your intentions based on understanding what matters most to you and make a commitment to align your worldly actions with your inner values. Goals, Moffat says, help you make your place in the world and be an effective person. But being grounded in intention is what provides integrity and unity in your life. What would it be like if you didn't measure the success of your life just by what you get and don't get, but gave equal or greater priority to how aligned you are with your deepest values? As Unitarian Universalists, being true to our deepest values is extremely important. Our 7 principles describe a set of intentions to which we aspire and to which we can call ourselves back when we notice ourselves getting off track. And we will get off track. There's no doubt about it. What matters most is returning again and again to our deepest values and realigning our actions with those values, even when we fall short, especially when we fall short. I mention falling short because making mistakes is an inherent and inevitable part of setting our intentions and trying to live in a way that is aligned with our deepest and most important values. Addressing this topic, author Neil Gaiman writes, "For this year, my wish for each of us is small and very simple, and it's this. I hope that in this year to come, you make mistakes. Because if you are making mistakes, then you are making new things, trying new things, learning, living, pushing yourself, changing your world. You're doing things you've never done before, and more importantly, you're doing something. So that's my wish for you and all of us, and my wish for myself," Gaiman says. Make new mistakes. Make glorious, amazing mistakes. Make mistakes nobody's ever made before. Don't freeze, don't stop, don't worry that it isn't good enough or isn't perfect, whatever it is. Art or love or work or family or life, whatever it is you're scared of doing, do it. Make your mistakes next year and forever. I freely admit that what I'm talking about today with the concept of intention is more easily said than done. On one hand, grounding yourself in your intentions and doing your best to align the way you live with your deepest values. On the other hand, don't be afraid to make mistakes, because if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not doing anything worth doing. It's a difficult balance to strike. And to complicate matters even more, I need to mention that whatever our intentions may be, they really don't matter as much as the impact that our actions have on other people. I'll speak more about this subject in a couple of weeks, but it is important for all of us, but especially those of us who are more privileged than others, to understand that our intentions cannot and should not be used as excuses for harmful behaviors. In the case of mistakes that result in harm to others, part of the process of living in an intentional way needs to be acknowledging the harm and returning to our deepest values, rather than becoming defensive or trying to tell others that they should not feel hurt since our intentions were so very pure. I'm not saying that you need to feel racked with shame and guilt when such things happen. In fact, shame can very much get in the way of making things right. Rather, I am saying that intentions are not excuses and really should not be used in that way. All in all, the concept of intention is relatively complex. It can be very helpful if approached in a healthy, generative way, or it can be harmful if approached in a narrow and dysfunctional way. Poet and philosopher Wendell Berry wrote, "A change of heart or of values without a practice is only another pointless luxury of a passively consumptive way of life." A change of heart or values without a practice is only another pointless luxury of a passively consumptive life. As I said earlier, every big change I've made in my life has begun with my naming my intention, and doing so holds great power. But it's the practice of calling myself back to the values that underpin my intention that has sometimes helped me make and sustain those big changes in my life in ways that are life-giving, life-affirming, and truly sustainable. As we begin this new year, whether we choose to make resolutions or not, I hope and pray that we will keep in mind that being steeped in our deepest values means being committed to a practice that calls us back to these values again and again. We can and will make mistakes, but being grounded in intention in its deepest sense means that we will begin again in love, committed to compassion for ourselves and others, and committed to justice for all those who are oppressed, whatever our intentions might be. May it be so. Amen.
I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Do a humming verse now.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We'll know we're there, we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words were written by Lois Van Leer. Having let go, set our intentions, named our curiosity, committed our energies, and given ourselves over to lives of balance, purpose, and meaning, let us begin again in love. Go in peace, go in courage, go in love.